Hi, welcome to a Qrvey tutorial video. My name is Natan Cohen. I'm the head of customer success here at Qrvey. And in this video, I'm going to show you how to securely embed a single dashboard end-to-end in just a few minutes. The only utility you're going to need is Postman. So let's get started. I got a dashboard here called Product Inventory. And to embed it, I'm going to select from the three-dot menu and I'm going to click Embed. Okay, now you could simply copy and paste all of this code into something like CodePen and it would work, but it would not be secure. It wouldn't be secure for a couple reasons. First, you would be exposing your API key, and that is absolutely sensitive, so you don't want to do that. Second, you'd be exposing a lot of internal IDs that potentially could be changeable, and you definitely want to hide those from the client. So remember, this code is client-side, right? It's an HTML tag, it's a script tag with a JSON configuration object, and then there's an app launcher, but it's all client-side. Anybody who can do a view source or open developer tools would be able to see it. So our first step is to encrypt the sensitive portions of the embed configuration object. So with that, let's flip over to Postman. So here we are in Postman, and we're going to start by creating a new request. Let's take a look at what Qrvey endpoint we're going to use. And if you want to look up the documentation, you can go to our partner portal, click on API reference, that will load Stoplight. Under the administration grouping, security, we're interested in generate widget security token. It accepts the HTTP post method, and the highlighted portion is always the API endpoint path. Everything prior to it needs to be your Qrvey instance URL. There are several required properties that you'll want to pass in the request body to this endpoint. We're going to go over each one and what they do and why we need them. We need app ID, which is the ID of the application that contains the content that we're intending to embed in the widget. We also need to pass the user ID, which is the ID of the composer user who owns the application. This is the user, to be clear, who created the application, not necessarily the user who created the asset that we're trying to embed, like the dashboard. So it's whoever created the application, that's the owner user, that's the ID that you want to pass for user ID. We also need to know who the end user is, and that's why the client ID property is required. We also need to pass org ID. So I've gone ahead and I've copied and pasted the URL endpoint. So I'm just going to paste it here. And I'm going to replace everything up to dev API with my Qrvey unique URL. Okay, this is where you'll want to use your unique Qrvey instance URL. And also, this is a post method. Okay, that means that we have to pass certain things in the request body. So coming back to Qrvey Composer, we're going to grab the widget configuration object. That is what we're going to pass in the request body to the getWidget security token method. So I'm just going to copy every single property here, and I'm going to go back to Postman and paste it in the body. So let's find the request body and let's add our properties. So I'm going to click body. And instead of none, I'm going to click raw. It's already prepared for JSON, as we can see. So I'm just going to add an open and close curly brace, and I'm going to paste my widget configuration object into it. All right, get rid of the comma at the end. Now, not every property needs to be encrypted, and not every property can be encrypted. So first, we're going to get rid of domain, because that's not really a sensitive property, and it also can't be encrypted. I'll show you where that gets added a little bit later. Also, we don't need to pass the API key and encrypt that. Instead, we need to use the API key to make this call. You have to be authorized to make any Qrvey API call. Okay, so we're going to take our API key. Okay, and remember, this should be your specific Qrvey instance API key. And we're going to get rid of this property altogether. And that means that we will be encrypting the following 5 properties. Now let's go back to authorization. Okay, we're going to choose auth type API key. And Qrvey API endpoints want the API key passed into the request header using a special key called XAPI-key. And the value should be your API key. Okay, and it should be add to header. So now we're ready to test and send the request. So let's click send. And what we get back is a JSON response body with our secure JWT token as the value of the token property. So now the next step is to pop over to CodePen, which we're going to use to test our embedded dashboard widget. All right, so now we're going to copy and paste our dashboard widget embed code, and we're going to go over to CodePen, and we're going to get this up and running. So I'm going to start by copying and pasting all of this code here to the clipboard. Now, please don't copy and paste your real API key and put it into CodePen. As you can see, I am using a dummy API key here. So please, if this is your real API key, please replace it with anything else. Don't actually post your real API key. And then we're going to go over to CodePen. We'll click Start Coding. And then I'm going to paste in the HTML section, right, the entire widget embed code. And as you can see, it's saying we don't have permission to access this resource, and that's expected because I don't have a real API key. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go back to Postman and we're going to grab that JWT token, which is actually still valid. It's valid for 1 week by default, and you can always change that. But let's go and grab it. All right, so what we want to do is copy everything inside the double quotes for the token property, just being careful not to copy anything else. Now that we have this, let's go back to CodePen and use it to finish our exercise. All right, here we are back in CodePen, and we're going to do a couple things. First, we no longer need our API key. This is not where we pass it. We have a token that knows how to render everything. We need the domain, right? That was the non-sensitive property that we didn't need to encrypt. Everything else here is sensitive, and it is now included in the encrypted token. So we're going to get rid of that, and we're going to use a special property, Qrvey token, capital T, and we're going to paste our entire token. And as you can see, I have my embedded Qrvey dashboard ready to use. Thanks so much for watching.